Who's got the presentation? You? Brett? So there's a, you just plug a flash drive in over here?
Did it already.
It's already on. Oh.
That's to leave the logo up there.
What was that?
Should I leave the logo up there?
The logo. Oh. What you can do instead of leaving your, because what I recommend is taking the file and putting it on the desktop.
Okay.
So that way you don't have to rely on the USB to be running your program.
Just drop it.
Yeah.
This one?
Open it up.
Whatever it is.
So much pictures.
No, just drop it on the desktop.
Oh, so it's just a bunch of pictures you're going to be
Yeah.
showing? Oh, yeah. Just drop it on.
Just drag it over.
Drag it over and leave it up here.
Yeah. And then that way you don't have to rely on the USB to work.
Yeah.
You know, during the presentation.
Okay.
You might want to open those up and then minimize them just so they're already open. Like just open one, the first one.
There you want to do it.
And then toggle. What happened?
I can just do.
It's cold in here. What is it with you people?
It's not cold. It's perfect.
Nice outside.
So go ahead and X out of your USB. Just drag it. There you go. And then open up your folder. And then just the first one.
And just forward.
Yeah, do me a favor. Click on the make it small again so we can see the whole thing. Can you see that?
No, here. The light's in the way.
I know.
We need to move those over.
You do. You'd be great. So I would recommend, where's the settings? Let's go to.
Oh, dark background.
Yeah, that looks better, right? Yeah. So then you can just scroll over. Carrie, you have a hot mic. Your mic won't mute for some reason. I gotta call the vendor and see what's going on. So you can push this button all you want, but it won't make any
There's
difference.
an extra one. I don't think we're using it far.
That's for whoever's this person.
That's Richard.
Oh, that's for Richard. Unless he wants to sit over here. But it'd be better for the camera.
Yeah, we have my microphone.
I don't want to be on camera.
Right.
Yeah, I'm just doing the two speakers.
But anyway, you can talk into that one. This one's on the phone itself. Yeah, I think it's gonna be louder when they talk. When you were talking, it sounded really good. Any questions? So if you could maybe just put your mic over here when you're done, so that nobody's talking into it. Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
Thanks. I can soft mute it downstairs. So when you're done after at what point?
After the speakers. So just got roll call.
You may just take the mic out since it's
I'm not gonna use mine
yeah.
for a while.
Yeah,
All right,
'cause
let's just do that.
I'll be done by the time Richard needs his.
Okay. Is there any questions on how to use the mics? They're all, you have to be able to hear yourself in the room. So if Basically, you need to hear yourself like this. If you don't hear yourself like this, the outside people won't hear you, and we'll get a lot of complaints.
This
Yeah,
one working? Oh, yeah, it is.
yeah. People, when we're broadcasting, that's what we want. Yeah, until we get yelled at. Yeah. So just make sure that you can hear yourself overhead. Yeah.
Check 1 2, check 1 2.
If you forget to unmute yourself and you do a hard mute like that, I have no control downstairs, so it'll stay muted. You'll have to remind each other that you're muted. Yeah.
Look for the green light.
I can mute a soft mute, but you won't see that I've done it. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Which I don't typically do because that uses everybody. Right. Right.
Hello?
This one? What do you mean? Oh, well, it's wireless, so they can bring it. There we go. Does that sound better? Is that a little bit better? Yeah, it is too low. We need a larger podium. Yeah. Yeah, only short people can talk.
Dad built it, so he's short.
Hey, let me see how tall. Oh, okay, you're good.
Yeah, you're good. You can ride this ride. Yeah. All right, everybody good? I need someone to let me know when to go live. You have to give me about 30 seconds. Like a hard 30. What? You can text me? Okay. Once you text me, I'll hit the button. Because we're sending it to City Hall, there is a delay. And so it's about a 30-second delay. Okay? Okay? Okay.
Some are not.
How do you guys work with notebooks and this mic? I'll figure it out. Is that the tree on 16th? Okay, that's it. I was gonna say, there like a gate or something, like a giant, and a fire hydrant, right? No fire hydrant nearby? Hmm.
Yeah, it's one setup. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So we'll either move it to the chamber ministry doing the upgrade on the 7th, then we'll have to move it. Yeah, there's something that and it's ongoing. We were only connected, we didn't have the mics. There's 10 on that community. We didn't have the mics. But now we got all the mics, so that should. Five, but start.
Hi, how are you? So did you know we get recorded and put on TV or something like that? We get recorded. Somebody told me that there's a video on the website or something, and they couldn't hear me talk through the microphone.
They were discussing that earlier to make sure you can hear yourself in the room when you speak.
Okay, got it. Oh.
So can we just leave the mic on, or do we have to turn it on and off?
Just be aware, like anything you say that you cough.
I know, I thought we were going to spoil it.
Yes.
I do. Copies of the what, sir? Yes. Yes, I do.
1913?
Yes. That should be it. Oh, just chapter 12.26. Okay.
Thing that was on the, it's the same.
Yeah.
This was what was on the agenda. So when I got on.
Okay, I've got the old plan, the new plan. Revisions.
Just like, I'm afraid my house is gonna blow over, like, of course, the trees will blow over, yeah. Like, the whole house was shooting sewer. When you look at the toilet, inside the water was going like this. I'm like, why is the water going up and down inside the toilet? There was so much wind everywhere that it was pushing it through the sewer system. I mean, the storm drains, everything's connected, it's closed. I don't know, I don't know why there was water coming up and down, but I was scared. I'm like, I'm not
It's Carrie Johnson.
This is the ordinance. For me, I have questions. I don't know why they must. Once he gets through them, we're gonna hear.
Yeah, 'cause see, there's a fire hydrant there. That's the one that I saw.
There's gonna put tree type on there too, since we don't, like, just an address isn't enough. I site. Oh, I think I mentioned that last meeting. Got it. If we're gonna go out and drive around the city, we gotta know where we're going. Like maybe a picture would help too or something.
Literally, if you want to talk into it, the closer you get, they can hear you.
Oh. Do we have masks here? I think I just broke it. So why aren't we 6 feet apart if we're going to be on TV? I'm brain dead on the mask. Do we have any extra masks? I broke mine. But I got you guys in the background of my name. I'm hoping I could. Thank you so much. Thanks.
Okay, today we have the Street Tree Advisory Committee meeting. It is February 10th, 2022, and the time is 5:21. And let's see, the first item on the agenda is the call to order. We have, oh, that's roll call, that's next. Okay, so we did the call to order already, right?
Yeah.
So now we're on roll call.
I'm sorry. Yes, actually, we would, since we don't have an appointed chair, if somebody could nominate a chair, and then you can vote who would be the chair for the meeting today.
Would you like to vote on who to be the chair?
I thought we did that last time and we voted you.
Well, it'll actually be for every meeting, so if you want to nominate John Ickes again, you're welcome to do that.
Second.
Very good.
And all in favor?
All in favor, yes.
Aye.
Thank you. So that would be oral communications next, since do we have to formally do the roll call? Craig, do you need to say it here?
Just note for the record that committee member John Ickes, Julie Garcia, and Craig Anderson are all present.
Got it. And item number 3, oral communications.
I have 2 members of the public who requested to speak via telephone, so I'll be transferring the first one in just a moment. Hi, Sherry, this is Carrie. I'm going to transfer you to the meeting, okay? Ms. Wasson, you're connected to the meeting. Go ahead and state your name and you can start your comments.
Yes, I'm Sherry Wasson, and I wanted to restate some comments I made at the last Street Tree Committee meeting on November 11th, 2021. And this was regarding the list of approved tree species in the new urban forest management plan. With the exception of the incense cedar, this list currently does not include California native species, and it favors smaller species over species that attain greater stature. While the smaller trees may help the city to save money on maintenance costs, we lose the value that larger tree species can bring to our town, the residents, and the wildlife. In addition, prioritizing smaller trees is not in accordance with Upland's General Plan Policy OSC 2.5, which expressly prioritizes the planting of large shade tree species greater or equal to 50 feet in height over the smaller species. Native tree species preserve and improve biodiversity as they provide sources of food and habitat for our native insects and pollinators, birds and animals. I'd like to suggest specifically that the coast live oak, the Engelmann oak, and the California sycamore, or the western sycamore, often called, be added to Upland's list of approved tree species, and that the oaks be given preferred status. A New York Times article by Margaret Roach titled "Why You Should Plant an Oak" notes a few things. Number one, quote, "These large, long-lived trees support more life forms than any other trees in North America, and they're magnificent," end quote. And then, quote, "Of the food eaten by insects, birds, and other animals, 75% comes from a few key genera, and oaks lead the list," end quote. Already in our city's parkways, we're seeing the practice of planting smaller trees and instances of replacing larger mature trees with crepe myrtles and similar small trees. These small trees contribute very little compared to our large native trees in the way of promoting biodiversity, reducing the heat island effect, lowering energy costs, sequestering carbon, reducing stormwater runoff, and increasing water retention and water quality, all things big trees provide very well. In addition, prioritizing smaller trees affects the aesthetics of our city. We're accustomed to the beauty of these large trees, the experience of the cooling shade, the enjoyment of the wildlife they attract. These trees are an intrinsic part of the aesthetic character and experience of our city. Our urban forest is one of the great living resources and legacies that will provide continuous benefits to residents and wildlife now and for generations to come. But only if the tree species included and prioritized are those that best promote those benefits. Thank you so much for your time and consideration. This ends my comments.
Thank you. Hi, Natasha. It's Carrie. I'm going to transfer you into the meeting, okay? Thank you. You're now connected to the meeting. You can state your name for the record. You can start your comments now.
Good evening or afternoon. My name is Natasha Walton. I'm a wildlife biologist and advocate for our trees, natural spaces, and quality of life in Upland. I would like to restate some of my previous comments on the proposed Upland Urban Forest Management Plan, which is on today's agenda, item 4A, and add a few more comments. Although there's some great aspects of this management plan, I ask that you consider my following concerns. Number one, please add the following sentence into the new forest plan, and these sentences came from page 17 of the 1997 Urban Forestry Plan. And the sentences go, any proposed revisions to the list of approved trees shall be presented to the public for consideration and a discussion at regularly scheduled open meetings of the Street Tree Advisory Committee. A recommendation of the Street Tree Advisory Committee is required for any revision to the list and is subject to the final approval of the City Council. My second request is number two, please ensure that the plan supports policy OSC-2.5 of the Upland General Plan to prioritize the planting of large street tree species, those that are greater than or equal or greater than 50 feet in height. The top 10 choices in the approved street tree palette in the staff packets today includes only one large shade tree, the strawberry tree, that can grow to 40 to 50 feet tall. In fact, the first tree listed, the crepe myrtle, only grows to a height of 20 feet and is actually considered a shrub more than a tree. In addition, I hope that the unusual damage caused by our most recent January 21st windstorm is not going to be used as a reason to not replant our city with large canopy trees. Although the damage caused by the loss of these trees was immense, the long-term benefits of our large tree canopy are even greater. For example, a large tree canopy can decrease the need for air conditioning and help prevent heat-related deaths during heat waves and subsequent power outages. In addition, larger trees can be expected to sequester more carbon dioxide, a greenhouse gas, than smaller trees, and thus have more potential to decrease the effects of global warming and changing weather patterns. I've included some information and sent this to you in an email earlier. You may not have gotten it, but I sent it to you. And also to address my concerns and those of others, I suggest that further discussion of the street tree palette by the Street Tree Advisory Committee occur before approval of this list and plan. Also, number 3, I ask that the plan include California native trees, an important component of saving our region's biodiversity, which includes native birds, pollinators, etc. With the exception of one native species, the incense cedar, there are no native trees listed in the plan. Many native oaks grace our community and provide ample shade throughout our city. In fact, a recent scientific study in Los Angeles indicates that native birds favor the native coast live oak and California sycamore over most other non-native tree species, including the crepe myrtle. In comparison, Claremont has 4 large native oaks on their street tree list. Number 4, the plan should ensure that the protection of bats be included under wildlife best management practices during tree and removal.
And we have one member of the public present who has requested to speak, and that's Kanta Vakaria. So if you could approach the podium and state your name for the record.
Thank you. My name is Dr. Kavita Vakaria. I'm speaking here today on behalf of my parents, Tarun and Bharati Vakaria, who reside at 1475 Alta Avenue. They have lived there for over 30 years, and the tree on the sidewalk outside of their property has been there the entire time. The problems this tree has caused have been long-standing, but its impact has been increasing in severity over the past 10 years. And has been a significant factor in causing both destruction of their property as well as their health. In terms of property damage, the tree provides this both via its roots as well as its branches, leaves, flowers, and seeds. The roots have been a significant problem both physically and financially. The roots have caused significant destruction to the surrounding property. The roots have destroyed the surrounding concrete, lifting it up, causing several cracks and walking hazards. Several passersby have been injured and asked us to notify the city to repair, otherwise legal action would have been taken. The city was notified of this multiple times, but nothing, unfortunately, was ever done. This led ultimately to requiring removal and replacement of the surrounding concrete that we paid for ourselves. The roots have damaged the mailbox, requiring us to relocate the mailbox as well. The roots continually break the sprinkler system in the front lawn, requiring several repairs over the past decade. And at many times, we are not able to use the sprinkler system at all until repairs are done and a new rerouting of the system occurs. One of the most significant problems occurred in 2019 when the roots damaged the sewer system. This required a significant costly repair, and the plumber had to cut down several roots, and he attributed the roots as being the cause of the sewer leak, as well as he had to dig deeper into the ground to reroute the sewer system. Currently, there are several roots encroaching around the water meter and water supply pipe that is there, and it's only a matter of time before this too will be damaged, requiring repair. The branches, leaves, flowers, and seeds pile up in the surrounding areas, including in our front lawn. This causes significant cleaning project that we have to perform ourselves on a weekly basis. There's thick foliage and weeds that have grown around the tree that were never maintained by the city, and we've had to continually clean this ourselves. This foliage has also harbored several insects, crickets, cockroaches, and spiders, getting into the water meter and the surrounding areas, including inside the house. And my parents have suffered several bug bites with damaging allergic reactions to them when trying to continually clean up the area. Chemical removal and extermination of these pests are not an option, as that there would be a further health hazard since my parents are not allowed to be in the presence of these chemicals as advised by their physicians. This tree has already been and has the potential to be further dangerous and damaging to their health. I have documentation from their primary care as well as their pulmonary providers. This documentation has been provided in previous correspondence. It gives us several pollen and allergens that affect the respiratory system. There are several birds that come to the tree that ultimately also give off excrement, which is another significant infection risk.
Ma'am, I'm sorry, but we need to cut you off. You have a limited amount of time.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
That concludes our oral communications.
So now we move on to item 4, old business, and item 4A would be review the urban forest management plan.
Mr. Chair, can I make a recommendation that there is an opportunity to move items up? And since we do have people here to address the tree removal, that we could move that item up so that they could get conclusion on their item.
Approved. Yes, excellent idea. So let's go on to item 5A. We will go back to item 4. So I guess this is going to be open discussion about 86 East 16th Street. Or do we want to do Alta first? It's not imperative which one goes first. Since there's a resident here from 1475 Alta, do we want to talk about that first?
Yes, I think so.
Certainly.
I apologize. Yep, I know. I'm having technical difficulties. So 1475 Alta Avenue. As the resident had mentioned, they have submitted a letter with a doctor's note to have this tree removed. I will pass this out. Just to begin, let's start with the tree itself. Brett, can you tell them the species and the health and the condition of the tree and whether or not it's healthy?
The tree in question is the one to the north of the driveway. It's a carrotwood. It looks like to be, I checked it out and inspected it on Wednesday, yesterday. And I've seen it in the past, and it's slowly declining. Like she said, some of the roots have been cut, and it's got a lot of dead throughout the very top of the canopy, throughout the whole canopy at the very top, near the tips. I didn't see any irrigation there, and some of the sidewalks and the concrete was removed and replaced. But as far as any of the other trees, well, we're only talking about that one, but there's still another one to the north, there's one to the south, and there's quite a few up and down Alta on that side of the street, so it's not the only carrotwood there.
But the condition of the tree, although it's in stress, it's healthy and probably would be on our watch list, is that correct?
Yeah, it's pretty much on a watch list, yes.
Got good color.
Well, yesterday when I looked at it, like I said, the whole very top tip canopy is kind of dying back. It looks different than the other ones. It's not as healthy as the other trees.
And I want to preface this, that this is a Google Earth map, so I don't know when the photos were taken.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not.
System, the area of watering is not a lot, but I've seen them with less water. Look, San Antonio Hospital has a lot of carrotwoods in smaller planters than that. Yeah. And they're showing stress from that heat we had 2 years ago in a small planter, and the tips all burned, but I think they're coming back.
Now, Brett, is this our standard street tree? I mean, this is not on our current palette, is it?
The carrotwoods is on our palette. It's a common tree throughout the city in certain parts.
Okay.
First.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, have you stated all the information, or is there more information for us?
There's additional information.
Okay, sorry.
So I did talk to our risk department to try to identify this, because obviously with a healthy tree, this is not something that we can just take out. That's why we present it to the group. Our risk department did ask our consultant, Carl Warren, to see what would the city's risk be for these trees by itself. And again, there's a lot of factors involved with the tree and the surrounding thing. If you take a look at the doctor notes that it should, should be the last page on your sheet. That chronic lung problems will recur need for a doctor visit. Recommend is to minimize exposure to trees and recommend removal for the same with promise. I thought I saw, here, the second page, it said that it is advised to have the tree in front of the house removed. I thought I also saw a recommendation to take out the grass as well. Okay. Anyways, so those are the two doctor's notes that were presented. As said, this is just one tree, and as you can see within the neighborhoods, there are several trees within the neighborhood. And to isolate the one tree within the front of the house, although I do know that they had said that there's a damage to the sidewalk, irrigation, as well as sewer, based on our ordinance, that by itself would not necessarily constitute damage unless it was significant. So,
And upon my visit yesterday, the roots had been pretty much cut. Did the city perform this task, or? Okay, they've been pretty heavily chopped. So that's something we probably want to avoid doing to a tree that's owned by the city. Just a comment for the resident. So hopefully that took care of the root issues that they were having. But go ahead, Margaret, you can, sorry. Julie, my bad, sorry.
Hello, yes, again, that picture is not a current picture of what I saw on Saturday. Yeah, what I saw on Saturday was the infrastructure was clearly marked, and you could see exactly how close that tree was or is to the infrastructure. You know, we can't remove a tree due to flowers and seeds falling, but in my opinion, the damage that it has done to the infrastructure and that it obviously will continue to do in the future, yeah.
so does that represent what you guys saw when you went to the field?
Yeah, that looks
Yeah.
about right. And the problem with that is it looks like all the roots have been chopped, so I would disagree with Julie on the future damage to the, you know, maybe 10 years down the road, we could say that would disrupt the sidewalk again, but I have a sneaking suspicion that care was not taken to take care of the tree while the construction work was done, so it may die, but that's ultimately up to the tree to decide whether it dies or not. But the roots have been so heavily massacred and that it didn't fall in the windstorm, so I'm going to go with denying the removal request.
Did anybody add water to that
Is there a sprinkler?
after they did all the root pruning? And can you ask the homeowner a question like that? It looks super dry. I don't know what time of year this is, but the ground looks super dry right there. I would have recommended fill that with water and try to give it a chance to live. But I mean, if they're trying to not, then there you go. And look at the cut on the right. Why would you have a different cut like that? The more planter straight lines would have been a much better cut than this 2-foot area that's an L shape. I don't understand that.
I took the picture yesterday at like 1:30.
Yeah, you can come up to the microphone and answer the question. That's fine with me. I think the question was, and Craig, was the tree irrigated?
Yes, I mean.
And why is the concrete in that shape? Are you planning on, you know, closing off that hole and having no tree? I guess
There isn't a hole there. That's where the water meter is.
Okay.
And that is what the roots are going into right now. So it's not a problem that's 10 years down the road. It is a problem that is much, much sooner than that, especially since we've already been having problems the past 10 years.
Can you answer Craig's question about the irrigation, please?
There is no sprinkler system in that area, no.
Okay, thank you. Okay, any any additional comments, or are you guys ready to vote? Okay, thank you. You guys ready to vote, or you want to talk some more?
I am concerned with how close it is to the actual meter myself.
Do we want to get the opinion of city staff on what the condition of the water meter is? Yes, please.
Yeah, we have not taken a look at the water meter, at least the water staff has not. So
So it works.
we'd have to get back to you on that.
It works, though. Like, if it didn't work, it would have been fixed. I know I had a problem with my water meter. The city tree broke it, and the city fixed it right away. It's kind of a concern to waste water like that, and then especially if it's not getting, the meter is damaged, then we don't get charged for it. So I have faith that the city will take care of the water meter. The only issue that's considered the property owner's responsibility is the other side of the water meter. So is that correct, Richard? Which side? So. Right.
What happened to the other picture? Is this the same tree?
That's the same tree, it's just that because I took this
There
from
was-
Google Earth, this was probably
That was before the roots were chopped.
yeah.
And the other one with the pilasters in front of it was a different. Oh, so they've done a lot. That one, so that's all new pilasters and wrought iron. Okay. Yeah, a tree needs water.
So it is on the city's watch list, and we will make sure that it doesn't become an imminent hazard. I have a feeling that Brett has examined the tree, and it is not an immediate hazard, or they would have already taken care of it. Brett, how often do you look at a tree that's on a watch list, or do you have a plan on that, or?
I have a question for Brett. It's the homeowner's responsibility to water that tree, correct?
Yes,
And so if a homeowner doesn't want a tree, they simply don't have to water it, correct?
yes. Well, they're supposed to water by the tree ordinance, but if they don't, then they're subject to code enforcement coming and talking to them about, there's a tree ordinance, you're supposed to water the street trees in your parkway, and then it's up to them to decide what they want to do.
I see, thank you.
Any comment on that?
I don't think so. I think I'm going to deny that. I don't think we're supposed to do that. Sorry, ma'am. So any other questions, Craig?
I've never heard of the carrotwood campania being a problem for any kind of allergies, anything on it. It's got a seed on it. Sycamores, elm trees, they're bad for people that are sensitive. This tree, I've never heard of it being a problem medically. I don't understand where they'd come up with this information to write such things, to say it's causing your parents harm. I've never.
I would also be somewhat concerned with the neighbors to the north and south, and also across the street. They have similar trees, and they may also want their trees removed because of whatever reason they may have for their particular concerns. And so then we get into the, well, why'd you remove this tree and not that one? And then possibly saying, why, what is your proof of this tree needing to be removed? And if it's not an immediate safety hazard to the public, then I'm okay with it. Yeah. Unfortunately, we have a real problem with trees dying in our city, and that could ultimately be the case with this tree, but we'll take care of that when that happens.
Okay, and yeah, and I just also wanted to point out in the second letter, it says exposure to pollen and grass and pest. And as you can see in the photo, they still had grass on their lawn. So even the notice said that there's pollen and grass as issues, but there's still grass. But the tree, you know, by itself can't be the whole issue for allergies itself.
Well, that's a long ways from the grass, and the grass is totally green right there.
Yeah.
The tree's in the city easement. It's on the street. And it's a small tree. It's a maximum 28 by 25 feet.
And they have trees up and down the
Trees.
streets, yeah. It's not supposed to be a dialogue, unfortunately.
You may not, sorry. So, do we want to move on to the next? You guys want to move on or continue discussion?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I want to talk about the resident paid to have the cement replaced, according to the statement. But if that's the city water meter is the infrastructure that is being damaged by the tree, and as long as that's reported, the city is going to replace it or repair it only if it is on the city side. However, that tree, the roots, obviously are going to affect or could affect both sides of the meter, therefore making the resident liable for the repairs.
I was unaware of this. I didn't check to see if they went to get a construction permit to do the sidewalk. So that's another thing that we didn't check on this particular thing. I was unaware of the sidewalk.
I see.
We're focused on the tree.
Okay.
To do.
Craig, are you ready to go? Ready to do this? Okay. So we're going to go ahead and vote on item 5A, address 1475 Alta Avenue. The first vote will be to, sorry, I don't know how to do this.
I think you just say, make a motion to whether to keep the tree or remove the tree.
Okay. I will move to keep the tree in the place at 1475 Alta Avenue, not remove.
I second it.
Okay.
Okay.
Craig Anderson votes yes, and Julie?
Yes, keep the tree.
Keep the tree. So we have all three members denying the removal request. Now we shall move on to 86 East 16th Street.
You want to show more recent pictures, Brett?
Director Yu, just to clarify, since we have three members, all three of us have to agree on everything 100%, otherwise it's tabled, or?
That's correct. It wouldn't pass because you wouldn't have a quorum.
Because it's a five-member committee, so all three of us have, okay, got it, thank you.
So, Brett, why don't you give a description of the tree, the condition, and the condition around the surrounding improvements? And Rich, do you know what the citizen request was? Why they requested for the tree removal, or?
I do remember this one from, I believe it was last year. It was a work order asking for removal because they were scared that it would fall. It's a really tall liquid amber. It's kind of unique because the growth structure is pretty upright. There's not a lot of surface roots. The sidewalk is intact. It is pretty tall, but it is healthy. It's one of the healthiest ones on 16th Street, is one of the tallest ones on 16th Street also. And I don't see I didn't see any significant damage to it or any limb drops or anything like that, but I do remember from the work order that they were just concerned that it would fall on their driveway break and then because of the tallness of it.
Thank you, Brett. So yeah, I went to the site yesterday, took a look at it, and I agree, didn't see anything of notable hazard or decay or any kind of death in the tree. It's kind of hard to tell what condition it's in without the leaves, but I took a look at the included bark or whatever in the crotch, and it seems to be okay. I can't see too closely from the ground, but I think we're okay.
Okay, that's the tree I was looking at, where the fire hydrant is. Okay, so that's not the tree?
This is the tree, that's a Google map picture.
That's what the tree looked like the other day to me,
But without leaves. Without leaves.
without leaves, yeah. So the shrubs weren't there.
I think this is an old Google Maps photo.
I don't think it's the same.
That's not the same house.
I know when
No, it
I,
isn't. Look at the background.
no,
not the
this,
same house.
this tree with the leaves,
Yeah, that's a different house.
that's the house I looked at yesterday. So, again, if you guys could please send us a photo or something before we go out.
Mine was this is the 86 right here.
And that's not the same picture.
I think this is next door. I think this is next door over here.
See the palms in the back?
Oh.
Yeah. This is the house.
I apologize.
Okay, I mean, my opinion is really based on which
It's this one.
picture we're looking at.
The one on this is the correct one.
Well, that's not what I saw yesterday. I saw a fire hydrant like right next to the tree. So is there a fire hydrant behind that bush?
No.
No.
So any possibility of tabling this item and doing a special, like I know it's 3 months, but the resident maybe already waited 3 months or 6 months or however long, so is it gonna be 3 months if we table this item till the next meeting?
Most likely, and just to inform you, I was informed that there might be a conflict in this facility and that we might have to move, or if we didn't have enough items that we might have to table it, even cancel the next meeting. So it's possible to have a special meeting to try to find a time frame when there's not a conflict within this facility and do it sooner, but
Okay, well, I'm fine with tabling it. We should probably have the right tree. I know that happened last time, I looked at the wrong tree, so let's try and get the right trees on the agenda, or the tree species, and maybe even a picture if you could, at least the tree species, or maybe a front yard, or I don't know, backyard, or some way to kind of identify the tree species, the tree itself.
Julie, I think you were looking at the house on my photo, on this photo, you were looking into the house to the west. The next house over is this one.
So that's not 86 East?
This is not 86, this one's 86. This house right here is 86, and that's where that tree pretty much lies on their side of the property. So you're looking at the one to the,
Okay, well, if we're looking at this tree with all the information you gave me, then I can make a decision on that. I have trees like this where I live.
Address was hard to find. I will say that. I drove all the way down Baseline to, I think, Mountain. Before I figured out, I'm like, 86, I didn't see that. So yeah, okay, Julie, I'm okay either way, because I looked at the tree, but if you want to table it, we can table it.
No, I don't need to table it. I am aware that that's what these trees look like with no leaves on them, and yeah, I'm fine.
All right, well, thank you for looking at the tree and driving out there, and appreciate that. Craig?
The city of Uplands removed all the hazardous liquid ambers. This is a healthy tree, one of the healthier trees. I vote let the tree grow.
Okay, you moved to, so you're saying you moved to, what did we say last time? Keep the tree, not remove the tree.
Yes.
Okay, I'll second that. I'll second that move.
I motion to keep the tree, or I agree to keep the tree.
Okay. Anonymous vote on, from all three committee members, and we will now move on to 4A, review urban forest management plan. The city will open on this one, is that correct? You guys want to do the discussion first? Okay.
Yeah, so I just want to present, I had passed out the ordinance as well as the urban forest management plan. Now, I know that there's been discussion about what's the urban forest management plan, and that's really a maintenance document, whereas the ordinance is really to set policy of, for example, when a tree can be removed, who's responsible for the maintenance. We don't like to intermingle the two. We like to keep those two things separate. And so when you take a look at the urban forest management plan, the topics that are in here are very straightforward on care and maintenance of trees in general. It has a tree list as well. Now, in the ordinance, it states that we need to update this every 5 years. But of course, I believe that you guys review a tree palette more than every 5 years. So a portion of this document does get updated regularly because we update the tree list. I believe it was in the past, from what I heard, that you guys review that tree list and make updates as necessary. There was comment, and you did hear two of the comments from the public. I can pass out their letters so that you have that information, but they did summarize their comments in the telephone. Pass that out.
I have it. I have the letter. Oh, thank you. Oh, okay.
So I do want to address their comments because they did bring it up on an individual basis. I will start with Natasha Walton's. The very first item that she said was that the plan should require the following sentence to be included. That any proposed revision to the list of approved trees shall be presented to the public for consideration and discussion. It's recommended that the Street Tree Advisory Committee is required as any revision to the list and is subject to final approval. Now that is more of a policy thing, is not part of maintenance, and should be left out, in our opinion, should be left out of this maintenance document. Currently, that's our procedure currently, where we do present the street palette list to this committee. That's correct, right? So I don't know necessarily that we would even recommend it making a policy change to address this. That's just part of the role that this committee does. The plan does not support, but should support policy OSC 2.5 of the Upland General Plan, prioritizing planting of large street tree species. Now, our city streets do have a lot of electrical wires, so that does dictate somewhat of some of the tree plantings, that we make sure that we plant trees that doesn't interfere or minimizes interference with those electrical wirings. In areas where we don't have it, we have a little bit more flexibility to plant larger trees. But our tree palette is really trying to do two things, and this is street tree palette, not park palette, okay? Which is to minimize damage to infrastructure, as well as provide natural shading and wildlife amenities as possible, and aesthetics to the community. So, although we appreciate the comment, the reality is that we do have larger trees that we do provide to the community, specifically within the parks and in the heritage tree communities that have historic trees that are larger in nature. Plans does not, but should have California native. Again, when we were selecting trees for the palette, we were very conscious of drought tolerance. We are getting stressed with climate change, and we do see reductions in our water supply that we are very concerned with. So we try to go to that, and I do know California native plants do handle that well. Again, for the street trees itself, the palette makes sense. I believe I did. Excuse me. Let me pull something up. I did try to go through and identify the top 10 trees in the tree list and try to identify which one were California native. And the conclusion was that I don't believe we had any or had just one. Nope. I think the sweet bay tree was the only one that I couldn't determine, but I don't believe that is a California native tree. So, I mean, again, street trees, the street tree palette is presented to the group, and if there is a desire to make that change, to add some more California native trees onto it, that's to the committee's desire. The plan should ensure that protection of bats is being included under the wildlife best management practice. I know that the plan really only addresses birds and other wildlife, but it doesn't really even say squirrels or other specific wildlife. It was very broad so that we could just address it accordingly. Now, I don't know, Brett, since you've been here, have you seen any bats or any type of?
No, I haven't seen any bats. I've seen the red-headed acorn woodpecker. That's about it. And then just the basic sparrows and other birds in the parks and within the tree, other street trees too.
So I'm sensitive that we should always be aware of wildlife. I think it's reasonable to say that we need to be aware of wildlife that we actually have seen within the community. It is broad enough to let us have a little bit of a step back so that our landscapers can, if they see something unique or special, that we'll be cautious on how we address it. Again, if that's something that this committee would like to further add detail to, you can give us direction and we can try to add something very specific for something that's very rare. And plan should include policies required new developers to provide ample parkway space for our large street trees. In the ordinance that I provided to you, there is section 17, which is really the ordinance for planning, and it says kind of some requirements for tree planting, how spacing, as well as I believe. And how wide the space that should be allowed. Again, we don't mix a maintenance document with planning documents. I think that's a bad precedent, since when the general plan gets updated, then this becomes out of date. I think what we should do is leave it within the general plan itself and not address it in the maintenance plan, which is what the intended purpose of urban forest management plan is. So I don't want to, I don't know if there's any comment on any of the things that I've said or with Natasha Walton's comments, but that's what staff currently feels.
Yes. In the colonies, there is a very small area of protected habitat. In that area is a bat box. I don't think that just because we haven't seen one, that there aren't bats. what I'm very sensitive to is how the close proximity that the city of Upland is to these mountains. And I think with that comes the responsibility to, I don't want to see mountain and then we have a flat developed city. That's kind of where I'm coming from. So I would like to see the bats included with the wildlife.
Do you want specific language on how to handle bats, or did you just want to have general notations about bats?
Well, actually, to tell you the truth, when I was reading through this, don't like to assume, but the tree maintenance people, they have their maintenance policies and procedures, and I'm hoping that their procedures include being aware of bats. So that's kind of what we need to know is your reference, your maintenance reference, if somebody were to look that up, does it say that they are aware of the bats? She had mentioned it in her letter, there's the specific months that they are not active.
Okay. So we could add language to include bat. We can go back and talk to the consultant to see if they have any additional procedures for that. Or any special procedures.
Maybe I should have let you guys talk first, but in my opinion, I kind of feel like this UFMP, it would have been nice if we could have just done it in a workshop setting, just one day where we go through it. Don't like this, this is okay, don't like this. That's all I'll say for now. Continue, I'm sorry.
So,
It's okay.
so to real quickly address Natasha's comments, I do appreciate her concern for the large tree species. And to that regard, this committee has presented information to city staff with regards to the size of trees and the concerns that we've had with what gets planted where. And so I did look at the approved street tree palette in the urban forest management plan, and I'm not seeing those comments or suggestions represented here. So I'm going to say that we need to visit the approved street tree palette once more, and you may assign us homework. I know we've got assigned homework in the past to present small, medium, and large trees. One of my comments in the past is top 10 choices. That's not clear language. I don't know what top 10 means, and we kind of recommended the city would remove that language and put based on size. And so it needs to be more specific when we have a removal. We need to know what goes back. We can't just say, oh, here's the top 10. Pick one. It needs to be suggested by the city arborist in the door hanger, and I did present a suggested door hanger. I'm not sure if that was ever reviewed or not by city staff, but we do need to narrow down the street tree palette a little bit there. And further, for her comments, I agree. We probably should have some oaks. I see a holly oak, but that's not really an oak. So yeah, we could definitely entertain some oaks in this. Since we have so many oaks in our city, we should definitely talk about more oaks.
Usually in the historical district areas where there's already oaks in those neighborhoods, we go ahead and replant those special, when it says specialty trees in designated areas, that's what that means. So
Okay, why isn't any of the oak species listed under there?
It is on the bottom.
Yeah, she mentioned the Engelmann oak, coast live oak, sycamores. We probably want to increase that specialty trees in designated areas and then maybe show certain streets or areas.
Correct. Yeah, we can do that.
Then
Slide oak should be in there because we have many of those.
I believe she talks about the 1997 urban forestry plan. I guess are we replacing that document with this new document?
That is correct.
Okay. And we can go on to
I know Julie did have a tree palette request as well. So it's noted that you wanted to add language in regards to Natasha's comments, to add language regarding bats, as well as in general to revisit the street tree palette, make it a little bit more easier to follow and not have a, say, top 10. Because the reality, when we do street trees, you know that a forest, it's not good to have one tree all the way in any particular area because of disease. You want to have a mix to have diversity. And I believe our policy, correct me if I'm wrong, is when a tree is taken down, we try to replace it, but we also give the resident the opportunity to make the selection from the palette. There is not a top 10, it really should just be preferred street trees. And we can change the way that palette looks to be more descriptive. I mean, this is just my first attempt, but we could do something similar where we could say the common name, scientific name, whether it's a street tree or a park tree, or the height, the spread, drought tolerance.
Right.
If that is more helpful as a description for this committee to have that within it, we can do something like that that would probably help give more visualization to.
Craig may recall that in the past we had discussed that there is a significant, like heavy percentage of certain trees that are getting removed in this city. So my concern is that when we remove a liquid amber or a Modesto ash, do you really want a Chinese flame there? I mean, we have to kind of help out the residents a little bit. That's kind of our job, and we trust that Brett can narrow it down to 3 trees that might look good next to a Modesto ash, because we really shouldn't be putting crepe myrtles next to a liquid amber unless, you saw the size of that liquid amber is 60, 70 feet tall. Unless there's utility lines, I understand, but we have seen a lot of liquid ambers get replaced with not something that doesn't really match. I mean, that was our big point in the past.
Okay. So I'd like to continue on to Sherry's comments so that we can get to Julie's comments. I think there's a common theme. I don't want to read the whole item, but just to prioritize it, Sherry did kind of suggest that she would like to have California native. Again, she had mentioned coastal live oak, Engelmann oak, California sycamores as trees to be added to the tree list. Again, she also reiterated the same comments as Natasha about prioritizing planting of large shade tree species, anything greater than 50 feet. And I believe that kind of summarizes her comments. I mean, she did also comment that her distaste for crepe myrtles within the comments itself. But it was more about adding California native, having more larger shade trees in the street. Yeah, go ahead.
My only concern, I completely understand what they're saying about the California natives. My real concern is a lot of them don't like a lot of water, and if the residents are going to overwater their parkways, if they have grass, or even just bubblers, they'll tend to overwater them, and that'll eventually kill a lot of them. And then just the sheer size of some of the California natives I don't think would be beneficial on our end to have it in a parkway that's a tree that's going to be 50, 60, 70 feet tall in a 4 to 6 foot parkway that's just going to have future hardscape problems that the city will have to deal with in the future. I do like the idea of possibly maybe even having on the tree palette, we can consider like a park species list of for the parks, the trees that are in the parks now, like Memorial Park has a lot of coast live oaks. Unfortunately, a lot of them went down in the wind. Some parks have big, really tall chamois ash, southern oaks, California sycamores, London planes. So there are some big trees, but they're in areas where they have room to grow, and there's plenty of room for them to not be overcrowded. I'm just afraid of the whole parkway, size of the parkway for this size of the tree that some people want, which is a good idea in the beginning, but when they don't realize in 20, 30, 40, 50 years, what's the size of that tree going to be? And to be honest, a lot of people are not picking crepe myrtles anymore. They're sticking with not so much the top 5, but there's just a lot of gold medallions, some London planes when there's room, the little gem magnolias, tulip trees, not too many Chinese pistache lately, or even the golden rain or Chinese flame. So that was just my comments.
And I just want to point out that if there's room, like in a large medium on Euclid is a historic, I believe that's the historic tree area. Those trees are designated for a certain type to maintain a certain look. So we do replace those trees in kind with the same species.
It's on the National Register of Historic Places. That's all. Sorry, it's nothing to do with trees.
Okay, so I did pass out Julie's comments. I don't know, do you want to summarize your comments? I don't think I should speak in your...
You know, that's why I would have preferred some sort of a workshop. It just seems really tight that we're, at this committee meeting, which is what, like an hour and a half. And I mean,
Yeah, I share the opinion, Julie, and I'm not sure if this is something we need to approve or we can just submit our comments, and because to me it put me to sleep when I read it. It's like reading a dictionary. We need to have it a little bit more suited to our city, and so like Julie's comments, I would really like to read these over, and I realized we did have a workshop on this. However, it was during work hours, so I would like the ability to attend without interfering with my work schedule.
And that's part of the reason why we tried to do it within this committee time, because we know that you guys are available, and we don't necessarily have, without the 3 of you here, a quorum to be able to do things. So that's kind of the reason why we've tried to address it here. We try to limit what we have on the agenda so that we could do as much as we could on this topic for you guys. But obviously, the only other thing that we had on the agenda was really to go over the storm damage with you guys. We wanted to share with you and the community, how much it ravaged the community and kind of the impacts that we've had on our staff when dealing with this. But again, I apologize, but we always find that the best time is really the time that we schedule, so we try to maximize that for you guys.
I guess what I was kind of hoping would work, and I'm sorry, I'm brand new to this whole thing. I kind of thought that I was going to send you my recommendations, and then staff was going to review them and maybe give me a little feedback, like, hey, this might not really work, and then present it to the committee.
I can do that because I did review it, and I can go through that with you. I just don't want to mischaracterize it. So if you want, I can go ahead and go through your comments as well as commentary about it, and think what's appropriate and what's not appropriate to add.
That's great.
Okay, so the very first item that you had was an introduction, kind of framing the community and the importance of trees within the community. This is a very easy sentence to just copy and paste and add as an introduction on page 1. We have no issue with that. Of course, committee members, if you'd like to review it and want to make comments, that's fine, but this does not have any negative impact to the report itself. I think it's positive, actually. It adds to the narrative. On the item, Section 3, routine tree maintenance, where you wanted to add this park tree maintenance policy and responsibilities, that's addressed again, trying to frame it back to what we said, this is a maintenance dock, whereas policy is set on the Muni code, and so we tried to separate the two. Our preference is not to add this line in, to keep it separate because it's already in the policy itself.
I think that's what's kind of throwing me off. You keep referring to the urban forest management plan as a maintenance document, and I'm assuming that it is an all-encompassing document on how Upland is going to maintain the tree forest.
Yeah, it is a document that gives us guidelines on how staff is supposed to maintain the urban forest, but the item that you had suggested was policy. When I look at policy, I tried to frame it like Natasha's thing about policy and also items that were in the general plan. It's best to keep items that are supposed to be for the general plan in the general plan and separate, so there's no cross message within the documents, as well as with policy, to keep it with policy and not add it into a maintenance document that.
Okay.
So that's our general feeling about it. Again, if the committee still wishes to add it, we just have to be vigilant, I guess.
Sorry, Director, the maintenance document is the ordinance.
No, the maintenance document is the urban forest management plan. The ordinance is setting policy, so what the rules about, the rules about when we remove a tree, what the procedure is.
Okay.
That's policy.
So because the three of us are totally unclear what the difference is between these three documents that are floating around in front of us, we need to cross-reference that. That should be number one, I would say. So we can start off in page 1 of the Urban Forest Management Plan saying, this document serves this purpose. It is not an ordinance. Please refer to Ordinance 1913 or, Code 12 dot, whatever, it's Chapter 12. So that'll help with me, because I was reading the Urban Forest Management Plan and going, wait, it says something about removals in the ordinance, and then I go over here into the ordinance, and unfortunately, they contradict themselves.
And see, that's the reason why we want to keep ordinance items out and, maintenance items in here strictly. So that way we don't have that confusion.
Okay,
But
and that could be easily explained.
yeah. As far as on page 15, section 5, tree removal, there is item 5 on paragraph B. And Julie said that it's appropriate to take out the wording that says tree poses public nuisance because tree species, size, location, fruit, seed dropping, limb. That is in contradiction to the ordinance. So I agree that line can be taken out.
Thank you.
Obviously, our ordinance says the only reasons why we take out a tree is because of damage, or, that it's dying, it's a threat, a hazard, or is going to do damage to the infrastructure. That is not consistent with that.
And Mr. Yu, yeah, that was kind of my intent, we have a few things in 2 or 3 different places on the web in the ordinance and the management plan, so I was just kind of trying to get them to all say the same thing. That's pretty much what's going on with my input.
It's completely understandable.
Like even perhaps like whole sections, because we talk about heritage trees in section 8 of the Urban Forest Management Plan, and we also have that in the ordinance. So we need to make sure those two, specifically as long as the titles, it says landmark and heritage trees, and then over here it says heritage trees. So maybe we should, get rid of it. I think getting rid of it in the ordinance is going to be difficult. We have to take that to city council, so why don't we get rid of some of that stuff in the management plan?
Yeah, I think the main part is to have the map of where the heritage tree locations are. Again, it's a maintenance tool, right? So as long as they know, if they're using this as a guideline, this is where the tree location are. We have a list that identifies all the trees and what species they were. So that also is kind of historic documentation, so if we need to do a replacement, we know exactly what to replace because we have it identified in this document. That's, again, a maintenance thing that wasn't, although it, the ordinance has a definition of what you can do within a heritage park, this is just to basically provide us guidelines of what we're supposed to be watching for and identifying the locations of things.
Okay.
Um,
So on the section 8, it says the heritage tree may be located on city or private property. We don't want to go with the private property option, do we?
Actually, it's just like a historic building, I believe, that if it's on a private property, then they're required to maintain it.
There is no heritage tree list at this time. Just to clarify that, Director Yu.
It's just, isn't that the specialty trees in designated areas?
I thought this was the list right here. That historic district tree species. I apologize for the confusion that we have different naming conventions for items.
Is that Appendix E? Echo?
This is not,
That is correct.
does not apply. We don't have that.
Yeah, yes, I agree, John. I think the wording in the ordinance needs to match what's in the management plan. The management plan needs to mirror what the verbiage that the ordinance says. Because we can't change the ordinance, correct?
I apologize, Director. We do have a historical district tree species total. Okay, this, as of 6 months ago, we did not. So this is a new document that I was not aware of. Apologies on that. Okay, well, that's better than nothing. We have a list that's, because I had asked the previous director, do we satisfy section 12.26.040, and she said we do not, due to funding or whatever it may be. So we're looking good there.
Just for your information, our consultant or contractor, West Coast Arborist, they have a GIS database identifying every tree in location and also their maintenance record. It helps us with claims as well as identifying maintenance. So all these trees are in this GIS database that we have, including the historic trees. But obviously, this becomes very helpful within a document like this to demonstrate that we identified them all.
But they're not labeled landmark or heritage trees. But this lists the historical district trees. Hey, maybe that satisfies that would require some review, I'm not sure, but. Okay, thank you, Richard. Understood. So we could use Arbor Pro, sorry, what's it called? All right, we could use Arbor Access to just tag a tree as landmark or heritage, because we do need to, at some point in time, satisfy this ordinance to have that official list, whether it's in Appendix E or not. We probably should get that at some point in time, but I understand there's too much to do.
Yeah, actually, it's a lot, with the next portion of what we're going to show, the wind damage, it takes up a lot of our time just to do that. It's a tremendous amount of manpower, and honestly, kind of trying to get this focus, we try our best to get as much done. Obviously, if there's missing details, it's because we're stressed manpower-wise to try to get all this to you guys accordingly. So.
Well, I didn't give you any time either. I submitted this very late, and I apologize for that.
If you want the files, I can give you files. Email the tree list if that's what you like. You don't have to take a photo. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm just taking notes.
Excellent. So is this urban forest management plan a living document? Like, do we need, is there
Read
anything
my
we need to
mind.
do? Is there anything that like we need to say, okay, this is good, or can we work on this at every meeting?
I think, can we motion that it be a?
Okay, so, no, so what we did was we took this to the city council to receive and file.
Understood.
Okay, the reality is the original urban forest management plan was adopted by resolution. So in order for us to make this more official and as our primary document, we have to remove that resolution, cancel that resolution, and put this on. Now, I don't believe that this document is a resolution-worthy document. This is a maintenance plan. I think it should be received in file and approved by City Council, but they won't approve it without your approval because you're their committee to address these items. It is a living document. Again, in the past, what we've done with this group is present you with the street tree palette, and if there desires to have updates and all that, which again will update this document. So we can revisit updating it again, and if we detach it as a resolution, it's easy enough to do a receive and file. So if you want to revisit this again, we can. But I want to obviously I want to capture as much of your comments as possible so that we can incorporate it. We don't want to go back and forth 10,000 times, right?
Yeah, there's too many comments to do in the next 20 minutes for me. Just me. So
Yeah, I
you could
mean-
talk for an hour about my comments, so.
And I don't know, I mean, yeah, I was wondering if
We're just
the
gonna have
rest
to
of
keep
my
going with
comment,
it.
can you just say yes, no, so I can review and, or we, now that they have a copy?
Sure.
Just like, you know,
The city staff can update this document, is that correct? So you can-
I'll probably do it just because I don't want to overburden them. They got a lot to do. Not that I don't have a lot to do either, but obviously, you know, I'm more familiar
So
with the word file.
we just submit our suggestions either in a meeting. I mean, we could talk about at the whole next street tree committee meeting, we could talk for an hour. But what I'm asking is you guys could make the discretion of including the updates. Julie submitted and then send it out to us, or?
Yeah, what I
you
could
wanna
do
do
is I could make what we've discussed here, the edits to the document, redline those edits, forward it to you guys, and we can do it at a later time.
Beautiful. And so if we all submitted our documents at the same time, it'd be easier for director use. So I can summarize my comments into an email in like, let's say 2 weeks. What do you think, Craig? Just summarize your comments in an email, because we're like out of time pretty much here today. 6:30. These guys got to go home.
Yeah. And I just want to say that I think there's a few items left on your list that's very easy. You have the street tree palette that's very consistent with Natasha's. We've already got comment on that. We can update to add some of those trees as well. There's a few discussion items which we won't go into, and then there's the section for donations. And again, we have a completely separate donation program. I'm reluctant to put it in, especially with pricing, since pricing changes so dramatically. My preference would be to keep it with the donation plan because that encompasses not only trees, but benches and other elements, and I think that's better served there. So anyways, just to summarize those comments for you. But again, we can go ahead and take additional comments. I can make those red line edits, we can bring it back, and have the discussion of the red line edits at a later time.
okay, and in the meantime, I will try to absorb the fact, accept the fact that the urban forest management plan is not going to contain all policies relating to trees.
Yes.
Correct.
I think it should, but
Correct. And we just don't want to see inconsistencies, that's all.
And that's the reason why
Sure.
I try to keep that.
Because a resident could grab one plan and say, oh, it says it here. Oh, but wait a second, that's not. Anyways, 2 weeks from today is February 24th. I will submit my comments by February 24th. And then whenever you have your time to update it, hopefully sometime between now and the next meeting. And then in 3 months, we could revisit this again and say, oh yeah, perfect, this works, that doesn't work. And you know, that way we could just continue on. But yeah, I mean, as long as it's a living document, if you want to go to the city council, I guess we could vote and say it's okay to keep this open or something.
Actually, it does state within the ordinance that we're supposed to update this document once every 5 years at minimum.
Right.
It's kind of bad that we haven't updated since 1997, so we haven't really been following policy. And so,
Right.
reality-wise, we can bring this back to you as items for discussion.
Yeah, I'm fine with receive and file, but you need to tell us what, because we're here to provide advice to the city council, I believe, as well. It's part of our definition, so whatever they need from us, you guys can let us know what we need to do, and if we need to vote now, then we need to do it. I don't know.
I don't want to
that's the
vote
case.
now to approve it.
Okay,
Yeah,
we'll just table it then.
You just table it, that's fine. Now, I know this is kind of late. We wanted to show you some photos, but of some of the damage throughout the city. But I think you can just do a quick PowerPoint presentation without narrative so that we can get through this and get out of here. And if you have any questions, just come in and.
Right across the street.
But yeah,
That was Euclid and G Street. That was a house from 1912. Sorry.
The whole
Well-
street hasn't.
Yeah, one hit this one, then that one went into the house. Yeah, the one to the north, yeah. It knocked the other one. There was an Aldi truck, I believe it was Friday night,
That was the one on the news.
on Foothill and near Grove. Yeah, there was a,
Yep, oh my gosh.
he came to a complete stop, he said.
That's my
There was a Chinese hackberry on Third and,
director at San Antonio Hospital's truck.
oh, really?
oh geez.
Uh-oh.
Called him and said, we have no broken branches, broken trees. And he says, well, not quite. The one at my house. This truck's brand new.
Oh, gosh.
And he wasn't in it, right?
No,
No.
1 o'clock in the morning.
Let me go back, take a picture?
I'm good.
I can send it to you. I can email you his pictures.
That'd be awesome. I'd appreciate that.
Power never went out. I was looking at trees going like this and I'm watching Netflix.
San Antonio on
Power
40,
lines.
40 hours of no power.
15th of San Antonio.
40 hours, oh my God.
There was quite a few silk oaks along Euclid. Unfortunately, we had to mark quite a few of them that went over. That was a private tree that was in the 18th, yeah. Yeah, just before the school, yeah. Another electrical pole, some road closers. The typical stuff we found on Euclid. Or silk oaks.
That's Euclid. Right below Foothill.
Was there any sort of a statement made to the public as far as after this event, the health of our trees? Was there anything given to the public to assure them that the trees have been inspected and don't worry?
Well, we were so focused on triage, to be honest with you, obviously,
Yeah.
getting the roadways clear, that wasn't our focus. I'm sure the city manager's office did address it. We did call a state of emergency at the city. And in addition to that, Richard's group did a wonderful job of calculating and estimating what the damages were going to be costing the city. And it's in excess of $1.1 million. For everything that we're doing. I mean, we had to get our consultants to do additional work. We had overtime. There was just a lot. And if you inventory all the trees that were lost and what we need to replace them, those are established trees and we're going to be replacing with something new. It's just not equal, right? So even at 1.1, there's a lot more to it than just the money that was done.
That sounds too cheap to me for how much damage we took.
We're very efficient. But that being said, we just wanted to show you, you probably didn't want to drive around the city to see what type of damage there was, but my gosh, it was it was very eye-opening. And it's something that the city has never seen. I don't think we've ever seen it.
It's never done this in my 40 years of being here.
We had we had a lot just like this, that are just uprooted and
Yeah.
took the sidewalk
Hardest
with
it's
it.
ever hit.
This is next to the Shuey building next door.
Yeah.
Their big Deodar cedar went down, so
Oh, my God.
they're gonna lose a lot of their shade.
I would really like to stay, but I have a child pickup time I have to go, so.
Yeah, no,
Do we have anything else on the agenda?
no,
Can we
that was it.
Okay, we will go ahead and end the meeting then. Adjournment, item 6.
Yep.
Thank you for your guys' time and all the hard work that's going on in the city. We realize that that's a lot of work, and the response was amazing. I had my chainsaw out ready to go, but didn't really find anything in my neighborhood. Everything was fine. It was all cleared up by the time I got out there, so good work.
Yeah, I commend the city of Upland for addressing it like you did, and you guys are quick. You got it all roads open. Claremont was hit a little harder in my eyes. They lost power for 6-7 days in some places. Power lines down everywhere.
Yeah.
And may I also commend the city for what a nice job you did at Memorial Park for these services in memory of Roman Ferranda. It was beautiful service yesterday, and the park really looked good. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, everybody.